Hi everyone. So it's just gone 11:16 and I'll be getting an Uber out of here at 3 p.m. So I got about under 4 hours now. I made myself a coffee. Yes, my last coffee in Sydney for the time being anyway. I've just been taking it easy because I packed and I've got my TravelCon eSIM and it doesn't have to be stressful travel. Sometimes it is, but just getting on the plane, just with the one suitcase that I'm checking in and a backpack that I'll take on board, another little bag. See how we go. So we're in for quite an adventure. I arrive in LA at about noon tomorrow. Well, their time actually. I don't even know what time it will be here. And I stay overnight at the Regency Hyatt, which set me back a little bit, of course. But I've got a flight the next morning which goes via Houston and takes me to San Juan, which is my final destination. So at least I'll get a good night's sleep, right? And all my comm in San Juan is organized. I arrived the day before the conference begins, so that will allow me to settle in, which I kind of needs I kind of need, and then from there, like, it's a couple of days of conference and then I head out again on the 23rd back to LA. And I haven't decided whether I'm going to stay in LA for the whole original week that I'd set out. I might actually change my Viva Aerobus flight to earlier so I can arrive in Mexico City earlier. I'm a bit concerned about expenditure in the US because I don't have a lot of money, and the US is expensive, and I think I would just rather spend more time in Mexico, to be perfectly honest. I know more people there. Hopefully won't get hassles in LA. I didn't last time, so I think I'll be alright. What else? I've nearly finished all my marking. Well, the stuff that's arrived. More will be arriving in the coming days, so I'll be marking on the go and doing other bits and pieces of work from a distance. I may be contacted on Friday for the outcome of the selection of candidates for that new job. Of course, I may not, but at least it'd be in the same time zone, I'm assuming, for an interview, because that would be the next step. I actually pestered them a little bit because it's been more than 2 weeks since the job application closed. But, it might not happen. It might not happen. There might be other people that might be swamped by candidates that have way more experience. But I just decided to put myself out there. I've had a few disappointments of late, like I didn't get a fellowship. And that knocked me about a little bit because I think that I put a lot of faith in it. The idea of actually being a bit more economically flush. But that's not transpired. So instead I have to think more about where the manuscript novella is best suited. And I'm getting a sense that work of this kind actually works better in places outside of Australia. I don't think that Australian judges or even publishers take risks with experimental writing. It's a very small literary landscape here, and it would probably be best suited for a press like Nightboat Press in the US, or a range of other presses, both in the US and the UK, who take queer experimental writing seriously. Australian, especially autofiction or memoir writing, is very transfixed on social realism and understatement. They don't like the Baroque, they don't like the language games, which actually makes us quite inward looking and restricted, because it's an inheritance of WASP culture, actually. I mean, could you find an Australian Jean Genet or an Australian Angela Carter? Not many. The Helen Garners of Australian letters kind of rule, you know, and whilst some people may appreciate that work, I find it really quite limiting and provincial. But anyway, they're just my opinions. You don't have to agree. Maybe that's your favourite author, but I look elsewhere. I do. And I always have, really. There are some good writers in this country, don't get me wrong. But within the literary mainstream, that's really what I'm talking about. There's really not much space, yeah, and diversity. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. I've submitted fragments or sections of that novella to different publishers abroad and also here. So if some of those pieces begin to appear, that will buttress the possibility of the manuscript being published. That's always the name of the game. It's the same with my poetry collections and any writing that we do, actually. It's like, who are you? You know, like, never seen your work before. Make a better claim, you know, for things like book deals or even further grants, which is really where I want to angle. I'm quite tired, but I am having my coffee and I'll sign off now before I take my Didi or Uber, see which one's cheapest. At 3, I will march up to the pharmacy again and go and pick up a medication for my partner's sister. It's supposed to be available by 12 or 1, so they're going to send me a text message. But I also need a couple more things for myself, so last minute kind of purchases. And so the bank balance continues to dive. But I asked ChatGPT if you could survive on $1,500 for 10 days in the US, and it said yes. At least I have an overdraft. Finances are always a stress. They are. On a wing and a prayer. In this case, a plane and a prayer. Yeah. So anyway, see you on the other side.